Back with Latice Crawford, RCA Inspiration. It's Sunny D, and bringing to you the second half of this interview because there are some important personal things that you ought to know about Latice, who is a dear friend of mine and so beautiful. If you're not here in the studio for the meet and greet, so many people have been coming by and they just love you and your spirit. And Latice, everybody talks about how beautiful you are. Like a young Whitney. You are very beautiful. And they love the bald head, but there is a story behind it. It's not just a look. I want you to tell WUFO listeners exactly why you cut your hair. It's so important.
Yeah, I mean, I've had short hair for a while, but the recent bald look was because of an encounter I had with someone while I was in the airport. I was coming back from a gig, and she was telling me how she got a double mastectomy. Like, she just kind of walked up there and she said, "Oh, you're so brave, you know, to wear your hair low." She said, when I was suffering with cancer and going through chemo, she said I was so ashamed, and I would wear wigs, and I would, you know, cover my hair. And she wasn't even an African American woman; she was a white woman, you know. And she was just saying how I was so bold. And so I told her, I said, "Well, I have a choice, you know. You don't have a choice." Her husband had left, you know, her kids were, everybody was just so angry with her, I guess, from the sickness. And so I told her, I said, when I get back home, I'm going to go get me some clippers and I'm going to shave my head bald. And she kind of looked at me like, really? And I was like, no, I am. You know, but it wasn't just for her. It was just for, you know, I've seen so many alopecia, you know, young kids, you know, who are ashamed of that bald head. I've seen a lot of cancer patients, but I wanted it to be a statement to kids and people in general that you don't have to be the mold. You don't have to look like everyone else. You don't have to fit what the world says. You don't need light eyes. You don't have to be light skinned. You don't need a weave down your back. You know, if that's you, then that's you. But I definitely wanted to make a statement and say, you know, that you can be you and be comfortable in your skin.
And you have done that. And the thing that I love about it is every time that people see you and hearing this story, they're going to connect it to that. And that's the kind of person you are. You do what you say, and you minister through pain. And I know that you recently lost a loved one. Talk to WUFO listeners about that and how you minister so gracefully through difficult times.
My grandfather passed away in January. We lost him right after Christmas. But for me, I've always been the kind of person to say, you know, when a person is ready to go, as long as I know that you walked the walk and you walked the, you know, talk the talk. For me, it's like a, you know, finally you're getting your rest, especially when you're not well and you're suffering. For me, it was him finally, you know, being able to get that rest for himself. So, but as far as ministering through pain, that's all I've known, you know, is pain. You know, I'm not gonna, I've been able, you know how they say find joy or be thankful in all things. I've literally had to live that. You know, every step of my life has been something where someone's like, "Oh, I heard you were going through." Child, that's the story of my life. You know, I ain't worried about that, you know. And I mean, we all have our own thing. And I've never been the person to compare. Like, just because you lost a cup and I lost a person doesn't mean that my situation is more than yours. Because that's your cup.
That's your cup. You know? Everybody has a cross.
Everybody has that thing, you know, that they're like, this is my hurt, you know. So for me, it's just been, how can I relieve myself, but also fill into others by helping them to relieve theirs. Music is such a powerful thing, and I think too many gospel artists get into this for stardom and fame, and they don't realize there's a responsibility. And I said gospel artists. I don't care about the other side people. So my gospel artists, this is a ministry, and yes, you need your check. Yes, you need your money. Yes, you want, you know, you want people to know who you are when you walk in. But if nobody opens a door for you, you should still be able to go in and do what you do, because the Bible says, "Seek ye first
the kingdom and his righteousness,
and all these things will be added."
See, I'm about to shout. I'm about to praise. If you're just tuning in, we're talking to RCA Inspiration artist Latice Crawford. You hear her all the time on the Mix 1080 AM, and we love her so much here in Western New York. At the pre-Mother's Day luncheon today at Templeton Landing, it was beautiful, and those women were gripped. When you get up, it's not just about your voice, which is spectacular. We don't even have to go into that. Wonderful. But you share your story. Why do you choose to connect your story of domestic violence and what you've been through? How do you pull them in with that?
I told God when I first started this wasn't my dream. This wasn't something I wanted to do. I told God, if you give me the responsibility to do this, I've said no too many times and I've suffered because of my no. So now I'm going to say yes, and when I say yes, it's going to be a complete one. I'm not going to run, and I'm going to put my stuff out there. You know, I think too many times, especially in smaller churches, family churches, you know, everybody else's business. You talk about Sister Sally Sue and what's going on with her, but you don't talk about you.
We know
you don't talk about your stuff.
Come on.
You know, so I put my stuff out there and try to let people connect, because sometimes people are not ministered to by the lyrics of my song.
Right.
They need to hear what else happened, because you know, it's easy to put the makeup on and put the face on and make people think everything's okay in your life. But I let them know, just a few months ago I was eating out the garbage. Just a few, you know, because I want them to know that although I'm doing this, don't think I'm paid, don't think I'm rich. I'm still going through it.
Still going through. And another thing that people don't realize, WUFO, when Latice began, you know, really coming out of her shell, she had an issue with anxiety and had to overcome that. Talk to me about what it feels like to struggle with anxiety and have to minister before people. That's just paradoxical.
It is bananas. I am such a hermit. You know, when I'm out in front of people, I know how to turn on. And then when I go home, I'm like, okay, back in my shell now. You know, and people laugh, but I think that God had to give this to me in order to get me out of that, to deliver me. Because God knows if I have an assignment, I'm one of those people that I'm not going to stop until something's done.
Yes.
So if I have an assignment, no matter what I'm dealing with, I'm going to complete it. So God don't deal with me the way he deal with other people. He kind of like, go over there and do it, or I'm going to just take you out. Because if I can't use you, you might as well not even be here. Kind of thing with me. He don't deal with me soft and sweet, like, come on, child. No. Get your tail. You know what I mean? Reach around. You know, that's how God reach around and go get, you know, that's how he deals with me. And, you know, everybody has their own walk with him, but that's how he's always dealt with me. And by sending me to Sunday Best, you know, I would be in my hotel room, you know, making strawberry shortcakes for everybody. I'm always trying to feed somebody. I wasn't practicing.
And love to eat.
I wasn't practicing. I wasn't thinking about that show. You know, I would get on stage and be like, for real, me? Oh, okay. I'm still shocked.
It's amazing to me, because when you minister, there is such an aggressiveness about how you go for it, and you're all in with that ministry. But talk about that internal struggle, that war that you have to go through to overcome you, because we all have to crucify that flesh to do what God called you to do.
I didn't realize it until I recently went on the Marvin Sapp tour. I never really look at videos and stuff of myself. I didn't look at anything from Sunday Best. I don't look at myself at all. Still, because I'm like very critical of myself. But I took my makeup artist with me on the tour. And when I got up, she said, Latice, you know, you're really like two different people. She was like, when you get on stage, you're like, and I said, you know, Latice Crawford, which is my maiden name, that's the person who's on stage. That's the entertainer. That's the bold person. Latice Manley Spain is Jeff's wife. When she goes home, none of this is her life. I'm cooking dinner. I'm changing diapers, potty training. You know, so it's two different people for me. So I know how to, you know, when I'm off the stage, I know how to become that regular person again. And when I'm on the stage, I know how to do what it is that I have to do up there. It's an assignment.
That's so fantastic. What you said is pivotal, it's key, it's critical, because a lot of people don't know how to separate that. And they feel like I am my identity on stage. And they don't know how to be a wife, to be a mom, to be a co-worker, because their ego is so huge. And you remain grounded.
I'm not a star in my house. My son be like, chocolate chip pancakes, please. Thank you. I told him now, my dad's a pastor, and when the church something needs to be fixed, or they need somebody to do praise work, so we know you was on the road, but when you come back here, can you pick up this piece of sheetrock and help us? They don't care this life.
Come on, pastors, kids. Come on and stand up. Now, I can so relate to that, because you have to do whatever your hands find to do. And speaking of your son, too, here's the personal stuff. The things that you went through. When you talked about your son and rickets at the pre-Mother's Day luncheon, my heart jumped, because two of my children suffered with that, and the Lord yet delivered him. Tell the listeners about rickets and what that is and does, and how God set your baby free.
Rickets is a vitamin D deficiency. I did not know at all that my son had rickets. You know, he was a little bow-legged, but I figured because, you know, the old folk thing, we stood him up too early.
There you go.
That's what I thought it was. And I was taking him to the doctor for his regular visits, and they never said anything. My son was in church and accidentally, he didn't even fall. He just leaned down the wrong way and did something to his arm. Took him to the hospital. They said that he broke it. And I'm like, what? Finally took him to the specialist, and this was a Jewish man. And he came back into the room and said, I don't know what God you serve. He said, but whatever God it
Hallelujah.
is, you better thank him. He said,
Glory.
because if this child would not have broken his arm, you would have, by the time you would have found, he said, I would have gave him 3 days and he would have been completely disfigured. My son's levels were supposed to be in the thousands. They were in the single digits.
Stop it.
Single digits. And where they should have hospitalized him, they said that he should be crying every day. His bones were the bones of a 90-year-old man.
My
He said he
God.
wouldn't walk. He wouldn't. My son is running, walking,
Hallelujah.
leaping, you know.
See,
So
I'm
God's
about
good.
to jump and run because God is faithful. Latice, I just want to thank you so much for sharing your testimony, giving of yourself, the way you poured into those women as I was taking my mom back home today. She was so impacted by you. We love you here.
Love you
Make sure you
too.
check out Latice Crawford. Tell them where to follow you at.
I'm on Twitter, Instagram, social cam, everywhere. Just look up my name, Google me, Latice, no R, Latice Crawford.
That's right, not Latrice.
Not Latrice.
Thank
Nice
you
too.
again. Safe travels and happy Mother's Day to
Thank
you.
you.
This has been Latice Crawford. We love you. Mix It 80 AM.